Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's like back to school, back to work this Tuesday after Labor Day weekend. Hope you all had a good one. I'm excited to introduce Alex Neil. We've known Alex now for months. She's always at our chamber cast, and we enjoy that time together. And sometimes she'll even hang out with Gail and me after that. As we work, we all do our work at our computers together. But I'm very happy to actually hear from her talking about her women's empowerment coaching business, which is very, very important. And I know she'll have great things to share with us that we can share with other women and even take into our own hearts as women
Mm.
needing some empowerment. And that's why I love these meetings and these groups because we all help each other, support each other, and share with each other. So, Alex, take it away.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. So, like Therese said, my name's Alex Neil. And just to kick us off, I wanted to share a little bit about who I am without what I do. So, I'm a French transplant. I've been living in the US for 40 years now, which feels like crazy. I'm an aunt to three nieces and a nephew. I am a foodie. And fun fact, I once ate frog fallopian tubes. So, for anybody who's a food adventurer, I thought that might resonate. It might be gross, but it was actually pretty good. I'm also a globetrotter. I love traveling. I am a terrible, terrible golfer, and I am a coach. So I spent 30 years in corporate, 20 of those in sales, and it kind of got baked into me about, kind of operating from my masculine energy, which is that push, 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 success, 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 achievement, achievement, achievement. And it that has kind of colored my whole life. And it is something that I'm working on changing because I feel like as women, we have so much to give, we have so much to contribute, and it's important for us to be able to really show up, not just for the people in our life, but also show up for ourselves. I met my ex-husband about, you know, what was it, 15, maybe 20 some years ago now. We were engaged after 3 months. We bought a house together after nine, and then we were married 3 months after that. So I was married at 30, divorced at 40. And that's what got me on this journey of personal development because I found I had given so much of myself to my relationship, to his dreams, to his goals, to building a life for us that somewhere along the way, I kind of got lost. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. And when I came out, it was like, okay, like, where do I want to go from here? Because yes, this thing sucked, but it's an opportunity for me to do something very different from what I did before. Um, I met my current boyfriend 13 years ago tomorrow. So that's we actually 14 years ago, and we've been together now 13. And through this journey, I became a certified high performance coach in 2016. And then in 2024, I realized that I was speaking to so many women who had been divorced or separated, uncoupled, that I found that I wasn't alone in having that need to kind of reinvent and refigure out who I was without the wife label, right? Without having somebody to give to, but really to be able to stand on my own two feet and be able to really connect and help women to come out of their shells and really feel empowered to show up as the best of who they are. So, what I do today is really I help newly single women to rediscover their authentic selves. And by that, I mean really who we are without the labels, because we have an inherent worthiness like everybody does. But it feels like society wants to keep slapping labels on us to kind of um, just because it's easy, right? It's easy to do that. And I help them to really reclaim their identity, right? They're, we divorce from our husbands or our husbands divorce from us, but are still attached to that identity. And not only do we divorce from our husbands. We actually have to divorce ourselves from that old story and from that old identity and rebuild a life that we love on our terms, without having that, always feeling like we have to do, because that's more of that masculine energy. And also not being so much into that people pleasing, because that's also where we lose ourselves. So, when the papers are signed, when the boxes are packed, the house is empty, you have that moment of, now what, right? And some of the things that come up could be things like, well, who am I now, right? You might still be a mother if you have children, but the wife label no longer is really something that fits. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit about societal roles, because I think there is an expectation of how women are supposed to show up. And it's always that dichotomy of, you're too thin, you're too fat, you're too pretty, you're not pretty enough, you are too masculine, you're too feminine. So there's always, like, it feels like we're in that middle where we can't win. We're pulled in different directions, and all of that is conditioning, right? And when we show up in our masculine energy, I know from being in sales for 20 years, I was used to that, right? And the masculine energy keeps us busy because we don't take the time to stop to think. We don't take the time to stop to feel, because sometimes feeling is not pleasant, right? But it keeps us safe because it keeps us feeling like we're doing something. So in our mind, that's kind of that achievement. Yes, I've made it, and um, I know how to do this. I don't know how to do the allowing and the stepping back, and the 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 ability to really feel into who we are, right? And to really ask what's next for me. And that's where that self-discovery and clarity becomes kind of everything, because clarity is that bridge between surviving, which we often find ourselves after a divorce, and actually thriving. And when we don't have clarity, we kind of just, the image that comes to my mind is those spinny toys that really, that's all you do. That's all we do is we just spin. We fill the silence with busyness. We rush into sometimes the next relationship, or we feel like we have to push ourselves to prove that we're okay. And that's that masculine energy in overdrive. It's a lot of doing, but so much direction. Is that when we find that clarity, everything shifts. The feminine helps us to sense what feels more true and what lights us up. Whereas the masculine, and I'm not saying that the masculine energy isn't any good, because it is. The masculine energy, once we figure out really what we want and who we are and what we want to do, that's the masculine energy is what pushes into action, right? And those two things together is really what creates alignment. And we begin to flow from really who we are and what we want. So we honor ourselves and we stay true to ourselves. Now, clarity doesn't necessarily mean that we have the whole roadmap, but it means that we know what the next step, right step of integrity is for us. And it's a step that we can easily take, right? So the bottom line is it all starts with us. It all starts with going back to trying to figure out, who am I now? How do I want to show up for myself and for others? What is it that I really want to do? Like, what are my passions? I couldn't figure out after I was done with my divorce, like, what do I love? Like, I knew what I didn't want, but I had absolutely no idea what it was that I actually did want, right? And the first thing that I had to do is really get to know me again and falling in love with myself again, honoring the things that were important to me. And all of those are about tapping into our body and tapping into our intuition, which is really in our body is where our feminine lives, where our masculine kind of lives in our head. And our head can lie, right? I'm sure you guys all know, like, all of the stories that we tell ourselves aren't necessarily true. we'd like to think they are, but they aren't always true, whereas the body never lies. And our feminine essence really always tells us the truth. So the path really is having that clarity. And I want to touch a little bit on the masculine feminine energies because it's kind of like a dance. I don't know if you've ever taken ballroom dance lessons or if you've ever danced with somebody, with a guy who wants to lead and you want to lead, and then it's kind of like this weird like stepping on each other's toes and you don't know like, okay, so who's doing what, right? But when you dance with a guy who owns his space, right, and really leads you and allows you to kind of soften and step back into really into your feminine, everything just runs so much smoother, right? And that's what's happening inside of us when we have one energy that overpowers the others. And I know for me, the masculine energy was definitely my default. And so it's important to learn to dance with both of those because clarity doesn't come from pushing harder. Clarity, it actually comes in when we allow ourselves to take a step back and to take a pause. And that's the feminine, right? Now, the good thing about masculine energy is that it helps you to set boundaries. So once you know what it is you want and once you know who it is you are, it's much easier to set the boundaries to be able to say, this is what I will tolerate. Beyond that, no go, right? So when I talk about thriving after divorce, it's not about choosing one or the other. It's about allowing the two of them to live together within ourselves in harmony. So I just want to run through a quick exercise and just three quick questions that I think, divorced or not, whether you're going through something or not, is always, I find that we don't stop to think about difficult difficult questions, right? That's why I love when I have a coach because she forces me once a week to sit down and like ask myself the questions that I wouldn't normally ask because I'm always caught up in the doing, right? And so some of the ways that we can get to know ourselves again is really to take that step back and to take a breath and to ask ourselves a couple of questions. And that kind of gets the ball rolling in terms of figuring out what it is we want and starting to get some of that clarity. And the first question is, what is it that's draining me right now? So think for yourselves for a second. Take a step back and just take a breath and just think, what is draining me? Am I giving too much? Am I working too much? Am I trying to fit into spaces that don't really want me? Do you have energy vampires in your life? People that when you spend any amount of time with them, they like suck the life out of you. And like you go home and you're like, I need a break. I need a drink. I need something. But you got to like kind of recover from the time that you spent with them because they just like, it just took everything out of you. So is there something going on in your life right now where, something is really pulling the energy from you and draining the life out of you, right? Now, the other question is, what is lighting you up, right? What brings you joy? What brings you ease or aliveness, even in small ways, right? It doesn't have to be fireworks every time. But finding those pockets of time during the day where you can step into something that makes you feel good. I got goosebumps just saying it. Something that gives you goosebumps, something that really makes you feel like you're expanding and just, taking up that space that you so well deserve. And then the last question is, what do you want more of? Do you want more community? Do you want more fun? Do you want more connection? Do you want more peace, more quiet, right? And working through these questions begins to give you a little bit of clarity about the things that are in your life that are lighting you up, and the things in your life where you're like, something's got to change, right? And based on that, you can begin to really decide, right? Because it's a decision, it's a choice. How do I want to show up? How do I want to have less of the things that drain me and more of the things that light me up? And I've worked with some women, they're completely, they just can't tell me what lights them up because they're so busy doing for others that they don't even know what it is for them that makes them happy and that makes them come alive. So does anybody, do you guys want to share? Did you write anything down on the questions that I asked? I'd love to hear from you if there's anything that popped up for you.
First of all, I want to thank you for the analogy of dancing because
Mm,
I love to dance. And I do notice that when I dance with a male partner, I feel like I have to let go, release myself, and relax and kind of melt into him
mhm.
in order to follow him because you don't know what the next move is.
Yeah,
So when you talked about that, I'm like, oh, I can relate to that. That really makes sense. You got to melt into them. And then it's beautiful, you know,
it
and
flows.
it flows. Right. And on a bigger scale, it's just an analogy for the bigger things, you know? So I appreciated that. That really opened my mind up to things. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
I have
Chris.
two things on the analogy of the dancing. I'm cracking up because my sister and I have danced together forever when we were very little, and she was 6 years younger than me. So I lead.
You lead.
Do you know I cannot dance? Like when my father tried dancing with me at my wedding, oh my God, he was stepping all over me. I'm all over it. I can't let loose. And my husband, it's fine because he will follow. He don't even try to lead me in any sort of a way. So that is hilarious. But the second thing I wanted to say, Alex, is that whether you're going through a divorce or not, so many key points I reacted to. It was like, yeah, I got to think about this. With owning a side hustle, and even though it's hard, and it's especially hard working for a nonprofit like I do, the time that I do get to start shopping and putting a basket together, I light up. Like I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is really got to be one day the only thing that I do, and I can't wait. And I hope I'm healthy enough to do so because so you do find, like I do, I know where my joy is at. It's just trying to make that happen, and to I guess to continue on trying to make it happen. It's tough.
It is tough.
Life gets in the way, right?
It does. It does. And we're so busy in the doing, right? That it's taking that breath to just, and that allows more of the things that do light us up when we're not constantly
Mm,
chasing something, right? It's like, okay, this is what makes me come alive.
mm,
Alex, that was
Yeah.
excellent. Um, I think about the dancing too because my father tried to just for my wedding, and he had me flinging across the floor, and I just could never figure it out. So it's just like I was just like, Dad, don't ever dance with me. But it was so much fun. But very good points, and I think about that a lot, just in your daily
Mm,
life. What
yeah.
makes you what makes you smile? So
Yeah. We need more of that in our life.
absolutely,
Definitely.
so, that's excellent.
So, yeah. So
Well,
I
you
just want to
phrase.
say,
Oh, go ahead,
just go
Jim.
ahead, Therese.
No, no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say just one final thought is that for women who are coming out of a divorce, and again, this is not, Sherilyn, like you said, it's not just for women coming out of a divorce. These are basic um, things that really we ought to allow ourselves to have and that we can do at any time, right? But if you are coming out of a divorce, this is your new beginning, right? This is, everybody talks about you got to put your oxygen mask on first. And it is true. because no matter how much we want to give to others, we can't pour from an empty cup. We
Mhm.
can't service. So it's
I lost her.
Your audio
Can
is
you
a
hear?
little off. Yeah.
Okay.
is it?
Yeah. Okay.
There
Can
it
you
Now
hear
it's
is.
me now?
You're
you
back.
again. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
You can
repeat
hear
the
me?
last
Okay.
10, 15
So
seconds.
You can't pour
yeah,
from
I
an
will
empty cup
just
was the last thing.
yeah,
Right?
you can't pour from an empty cup, and we give what we give most effectively when we have surplus, when we have more than what we need. That's the time to give, because when we start to give from what we need, then we become less efficient, we become less caring, we start to begrudge and things like that. So,
Mhm.
just get you right, get to know you again, rediscover what makes you come alive, and then
Mhm.
everything else changes.
Mhm. I'm glad you used the analogy about putting the oxygen mask on because until I heard that phrase many years ago, I used to think it was selfish to do things for yourself. And then once that analogy was presented to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's okay. I do need to take care of me first in order to continue because you do get depleted and you do get drained. And I was going to say, I love the way you phrase these two questions because they moved me to a different place when you said, what is it that's draining me? That really made an impact on my thoughts because you don't look at it that way, but it's true. What's draining you? And then what's lighting you up? That also puts me in a different mindset and a different feeling. So these are powerful your words that you're using because when you think about what is it that I don't want to do, or what is it, it's weak, but what's draining you and what's lighting you up really are powerful words. So thank you for putting that out there. And then what do I want more of? Yeah. More
Because we want
oxygen.
more of the good stuff. We don't want more of the icky stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then that helps to perpetuate us being
Yeah.
able to do more because we're happier and we're more energized. So thank you. This was wonderful.
You're welcome.
I hope you're not done yet, but this is
I'll
great.
say the
Oh,
questions
yeah.
the questions really make you think
Mhm.
because you think that that would be an easy answer, and I'm still thinking. Some of them come to mind more quickly now, but something else that you said resonated. Being someone that's divorced, um, I remember a friend asking me, "Gail, what do you like to do?" And you'd think that that would be an easy question, and I had no words coming out of my mouth. And that was crazy to me that I had no idea what I liked to do. Of course,
Mhm.
and I was in a 24, 25 year, almost 25-year marriage. So it had been half of my life, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, or what I liked to do, or what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And it's still
It's
a work in it's still a work
yeah.
in progress.
And
8 years later, but
yeah.
but it's. I was also I think it's true about, putting others. I mean, I did have two children that were, especially my son was at an age, my daughter was almost out. She was almost heading towards college, but my son, so, that was my focus, making sure he was okay. And so I didn't get to really start thinking about these questions until the last few years. And that's okay. I think that's okay. Right? I mean,
Mhm.
it wasn't immediate, but
Yeah.
as long as you continue to evolve, I think. And I don't know if I think you'll probably agree, a lot of people say you can't change, that person can't change,
Yeah. That's
never
bogus.
change. I don't know if you're 50s or 40s or BS. You could
Agreed.
change if you want to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're always
Very true.
evolving. We're always
Always.
But
evolving.
There's
not
no
everybody
end.
is. Not
Yeah.
everybody is. It's only if
Mhm.
you want to.
Right. You're right. You're right.
Agreed.
Hmm.
Because most people just say, "Oh, no, you can't change. You're in your 40s, 50s. You can't change."
Malarkey.
Yeah, BS,
Yep.
like you
Agree.
said.
Hey, Therese, will you take the recording off now? Just,
Oh, sure,
yeah,
sure.
just in case.